I did not begin this story expecting monsters. What I found instead were men of refinement, educated, powerful, smiling politely in daylight, men who shaped empires and then descended underground to laugh at God. The Hellfire Club was never about devil worship in the childish sense. It was something colder, more dangerous. It was about power wearing ritual as a mask. History teaches us to look for corruption in the shadows, among the poor, the desperate, the excluded. But the Hellfire Club forces us to confront a more uncomfortable truth, that some of the most transgressive rituals in Western history were practiced not by outcasts, but by the ruling class. In 18th century England, power wore silk and powdered wigs. Parliament was filled with men who spoke of morality, law, and divine order. They attended church, they quoted scripture, they governed an empire. And then, when night fell, some of these same men gathered in secret to invert everything they publicly defended. The Hellfire Club was not a single organization, but a lineage of elite societies operating under the same principle that those who rule society must also be free to violate it. Respectability above ground, ritualized rebellion below. These were not revolutionaries seeking to overthrow the system. They were the system. The club's genius was not secrecy alone, it was contradiction. By mocking religion, indulging taboo, and staging ritualized transgression, members bound themselves together through shared secrets, not ideology, not belief, but complicity. This is the first rule of elite power. What binds men together most tightly is not shared virtue, but shared guilt. At the center of the Hellfire Club stands Sir Francis Dashwood, a man who embodied the paradox of Enlightenment England. Dashwood was a statesman, a chancellor of the Exchequer, a respected aristocrat. He was also a Freemason, a libertine, and the architect of one of the most infamous secret societies in European history. He traveled widely across Europe, absorbing philosophies that challenged traditional Christianity. He admired classical paganism. He mocked Puritan restraint. He believed that pleasure was not merely indulgence, but philosophy enacted through the body. Dashwood did not reject religion outright. He theatricalized it. His genius lay in understanding that ritual did not need sincerity to be powerful. Even parody carries symbolic weight. Even mockery leaves psychological residue. Under Dashwood's direction, the Hellfire Club became a ritual laboratory, testing how far elite men could push moral boundaries while remaining untouchable, and for a time it worked. If the Hellfire Club had a heart, it was Medmenham Abbey. An abandoned Cistercian monastery along the Thames, it was transformed into a temple of inversion. Above ground, Dashwood inscribed the words, "Fais ce que tu voudras," do what thou wilt. The phrase predates Crowley by nearly 2 centuries. Below the abbey lay a network of artificial caves carved into chalk hillsides, an underground labyrinth designed not for worship but for performance. These caves were ritual spaces where light disappeared, hierarchy dissolved, and identity became fluid. Here, members donned robes and masks, religious symbols were inverted, Latin prayers were rewritten into obscene parodies. Christian iconography was mocked not to destroy belief, but to demonstrate dominance over it. This was not chaos, it was controlled transgression. The cave environment matters. Underground spaces collapse time, distort sound, and disorient the mind. They are ideal theaters for psychological transformation. Ancient mystery cults understood this. Dashwood understood it too. The Hellfire Club did not need demons. It had architecture. What exactly happened inside the Hellfire Club? This question has fueled centuries of speculation. Contemporary accounts are deliberately vague. Accusations of satanic worship, sexual excess, and blasphemy swirl around the group, but separating myth from reality misses the deeper point. Whether the rituals were sincere or theatrical does not matter. Ritual functions through repetition, symbolism, and emotional intensity. Even mock rituals imprint patterns on the psyche. Even laughter reshapes belief. The Hellfire Club staged inverted masses. Members addressed each other with mock religious titles. Women, often referred to as nuns, participated in ceremonies that blurred consent, performance, and power. But this was not anarchic hedonism. Everything was choreographed. Roles were assigned. Hierarchies remained intact. Transgression was allowed, but only within the club. This is crucial. By permitting controlled violation of norms, the Hellfire Club strengthened loyalty among its members while reinforcing the idea that they existed above moral law. Rules were for the public. Ritual freedom was for the elite. This logic has never disappeared. Elite ritual societies are rarely about belief, they are about leverage. Shared transgression creates vulnerability. Vulnerability creates silence. Silence creates power. The Hellfire Club functioned as a private bond among influential men, politicians, nobles, intellectuals who now possessed mutual secrets. Exposure would ruin them all. Loyalty became survival. This is why elite groups ritualize taboo rather than avoid it. Scandal is a tool when properly contained. Blackmail does not require a villain lurking in the shadows. Often it is structural. A system where everyone has something to lose polices itself. And so the Hellfire Club did not need enforcement. Membership was enforcement. Eventually, secrecy failed. Rumors spread. Political enemies whispered. Public scandals mounted. The Hellfire Club dissolved not through exposure of rituals, but through the shifting winds of power. Dashwood retreated. Members distanced themselves. Official records grew vague. The caves fell silent. But the collapse of the Hellfire Club did not end its influence. It refined it. The Hellfire Club was not an aberration. It was a prototype. Across history, elite fraternities have repeated the same formula: secrecy, ritualized transgression, symbolic inversion, and social insulation. From Freemasonry to Skull and Bones, from Bohemian Grove to modern closed-door power retreats, the details change. The structure remains. Ritual is not about belief. It is about identity reinforcement among those who already rule. The Hellfire Club is remembered as scandal, caricature, or historical curiosity. That is convenient. What is harder to accept is that it revealed something fundamental about power. Those at the top often seek not purity, but permission to step outside the moral constraints imposed on everyone else, not to destroy society, but to rule it without guilt. The fire burned at Medmenham Abbey did not consume England. It illuminated a truth, and once seen, it cannot be unseen. You've been watching the Esoteric Unveiled, exploring hidden orders, forgotten truths, and forbidden knowledge. Like and subscribe.